Hello, and welcome back to another edition of the Daily Crypto Byte. Today is Wednesday, October 20th, and wow, how about that for some price action? I can already see the chat is fired up this morning. I love to see it. And yeah, congratulations are in order because it's been a bit of a roller coaster of a year, but for the first time in a long time, we're back above some previous all-time highs. Bitcoin above 64K, ETH above 4K, plenty of other assets ripping as well. Some really, really exciting stuff. So I'm excited. I know CJ's excited. I can see the chat's excited. So should be a pretty good day of content here. CJ, how you doing, my friend?
Yeah, days like these are always interesting. It's always nice to take a moment and reflect about the depths of the bear market, Bitcoin 2018, years like that, and then all the developments and how far everything's come. Really, when a new all-time high occurs, it's all of the development and really progression of the space finally coming to fruition. And so, I think it's a good time to celebrate, but also be prudent because we have gone up like 65, 70% ever since the bottom with virtually no pullbacks. Of course, that is coming on the back of the supply shock, but being said, still quite a run. How are you this morning, Monty?
I'm feeling good, CJ. I'm feeling good. And yeah, I completely agree with you. This is the time that we need to start being very disciplined and start taking into considerations those things that we've been talking about in terms of top signals, things that we saw back in May that in hindsight were red flags that we were kind of losing momentum and perhaps topping in the interim. Not close to seeing any of those red flags yet, but now that we're breaking into these all-time highs, this uncharted territory, now's the time we really got to start thinking about those things, start planning an exit strategy, because this market, as you can see today, it moves very, very fast. So you need to be prepared to take profit in this market. And yeah, we'll talk about all of that and a lot more today. But before we dive into the charts, I do want to say today at 3 p.m. Central market close, we will be doing a crypto webinar. And this is, a little bit different than our typical Wednesday webinar. This one is not just open to members. This one is open to anyone. So any friends you guys have that are interested in crypto, you can send them the Zoom link. They can join. We'd love to have all our usual members that show up in the Wednesday webinar come out. We're just going to be showcasing some of the features of the crypto room. We're also going to be doing a Q4 outlook and some TA on various assets. But basically, we just want to open up the room to some more people, show them what we have to offer here at Market Rebellion. And really, the timing has worked out great because we're getting some really exciting price action. So although, it may be a little bit redundant for some of you that watch us every day, definitely we still encourage you to come in there because we will be going over some Q4 outlooks. And also, it'd be great to have you guys, just in the comments, sharing your insights, asking your great questions as you always do. It makes us look good. So we appreciate you in advance. But CJ, let's dive into some charts here. What do you say, my friend?
Absolutely. So I'm not trying to be the buzzkill today, but I do want to look at how Bitcoin behaved kind of last time it hit its all-time high or tested an all-time high. And I understand that, this was a period from April to October, whereas, this span and, distance between testing all-time highs was actually like years. So the time span element definitely is different. But just to follow up on how prices kind of acted the previous time we hit an all-time high, we had actually a very similar run, at the start of October. We went up basically in only a matter of a few weeks, roughly about 60 to 70%. And we've done, roughly the same thing at our current cycle or our current previous run right here. This is about a 60 to 75% run within, the last month and a half. And once we got to the pinnacle, once we really tested and broke above that all-time high, I believe it was about 19,000, we did have a little bit of a pullback. We had a pullback to the moving average and a decrease of about 16% in roughly 2 days. But then, of course, the trend bounced back and rallied higher, and the rest was history. So don't get me wrong, I'm extraordinarily bullish. I'm still holding spot. However, if we were to see something like this after today's price action, especially after the TD Cell 9, it would not be out of the realm of possibility. So does that mean I'm taking profit or anything? Not necessarily, no. I'm still holding long and holding spots. However, if we were to see something similar, it would put us at a price of probably high 50s very temporarily. And that would really be an optimal point for dip buying, in my opinion, because it is likely with the supply shock that we continue higher into the 70s and 80s over the next few weeks or coming months. However, nothing goes up or down in a straight line. And I think some type of regression like that, if we were to see it, would not be out of the realm of possibility. Volume is still pretty strong though, so no immediate pullbacks. The one thing I always like to look for in terms of a trailing stop in the short term has to do with the outer Bollinger Band fitted to the trend. In this case, the trend would be at one standard deviation of variation with that outer Bollinger Band. But as you can see, there's no cause for alarm yet. We are still very far above that outer band. But yeah, I mean, we've gone up so quickly, so fast. Just want to put that aspect of rationale out there as well.
Yes, definitely important to keep a level head. So I appreciate that, CJ. And I really like what you're talking about, in terms of using the Bollinger Bands. We've seen that. I know for a fact that you've employed that strategy successfully in the past during trending markets, whether it be that top Bollinger Band or the 20-day smooth moving average. Those are great indications of support or resistance during trending markets. Now that we're trending up, great indication of support. And some of the most successful traders, they go with the trend. They're not always trying to buy the bottom or sell the top. They buy the trend and they sell it when the trend is broken. And I think that looking to that top Bollinger Band that you just showcased is a great kind of first indication that perhaps the trend is broken. So thank you for that. One other thing that is also very interesting today, and not too surprising as well, given what we're seeing in Bitcoin, is the price action we are seeing here in Ethereum. Very, very impressive stuff. This 4K level for ETH is very, very critical, not just as a psychological level, but as you can see, when we tested this level at the end of August here, right before that massive liquidation event, we saw some pretty strong resistance at this level even before the liquidation event. And now today, although we're ripping up, there is some sell pressure coming from above the 4K level. That being said, once we break above this 4K level, which is looking like we are, kind of set to do here as we are above it, volume is still looking pretty strong here. I think that the next critical level is about at $4,300, which coincides with the previous candle body close of our all-time high here. And, that's a pretty significant amount of room to run here. I've talked a lot about what we've been seeing in terms of on-chain metrics for ETH over the last week. All of it tells us that, this move was imminent. A break into all-time highs is looking like it's just around the corner. And that's not just based on what we're seeing in Bitcoin. In terms of perpetual futures funding for ETH, it's at an all-time high. Options open interest at an all-time high. Very similar things to what we saw before ETH started to rally here in the month of May. So very, very bullish signs from ETH, and the price action here is looking strong as well. Further, we've showcased ETH as sort of a gateway to the altcoins, and I definitely think that we're kind of seeing that already today. We're seeing some capital rotate into the altcoins, and I think that has to do with the sort of mania that we're seeing on social media, on traditional media as well. Retail participants are going to come back into this market, and they're going to look at some retail facing assets. But I think that ETH could be another one that benefits from that impending influx of retail capital. So really interesting stuff happening today. Exciting stuff. We've been waiting for a while now. But yeah, back above 4K for ETH, a historic milestone here today.
What's your view on alts? Is it time to jump into alts? I think we've got a little bit, but what's your opinion on that one?
Yeah, sure. I think that, there will be a little bit of time before the alts start to really rally with that sort of high beta, that outperformance to Bitcoin that is typically characteristic and, everyone's favorite trait of the altcoins. I don't think we're quite there yet. Perhaps in the month of November to December, that's when we'll start to see those parabolic moves. That being said, though, I have been looking to enter into a lot of these alts. They have sold off hard in the last week, and a lot of that has kind of contributed to the first part of this Bitcoin move to new all-time highs. I think that now that Bitcoin is at those all-time highs, those alts have pulled back and kind of given way for Bitcoin to reclaim that dominance, I think now is actually a very valid time to be looking to those alts at a pretty solid dollar cost average. So, yesterday I talked about an H bar trade that I like. Today, H bar is looking very strong. I expect that to continue. Like I said, it gave back a lot in the month of September. And now that we're seeing all-time highs being made by Bitcoin, an all-time high right around the corner for ETH, I think now is a time to be looking into those alts. Although the rip may not be imminent, you're more or less exposing, or you're more or less protecting yourself from a crash to the upside now by getting in on some of these alts. Sure, there is the potential for some downside moves in the interim, but I think that looking at what we've seen historically in Q4, looking at what we've seen historically when Bitcoin's making new all-time highs, you really got to protect yourself from some quick moves to the upside in a lot of these alts. And I've been doing that by kind of diversifying myself into several of them over the last week or so here. So those are my thoughts on the alts right now.
Yeah, there was such an instance when we ran from 15 to 30K where the Bitcoin maximalists were, really partying and celebrating and congratulating themselves. And it was very difficult to be an altcoin holder at that time, even holding Ethereum, because it wasn't catching up with the pace of Bitcoin. And I expect we'll see that again. And it's going to probably hurt if you're an altcoin holder watching Bitcoin go up and your altcoin is still kind of lagging behind. But as Monty and I refer to that flow of capital in the space so often, it will come to the alts. I believe it will. However, it could take some time. And whether it comes in at 65K, 70K, 75K, 100K, we just don't really know yet. And so the alts, we have to be a little bit patient with them. But when retail comes in, which I believe they will if Bitcoin continues to trend here, then that is going to be an altcoin mania, the likes of which I don't think we've seen before. And I think it will surprise a lot of people. But until then, it's going to be a little bit troubling to see Bitcoin really rally and some of these alts just kind of stagnate. Being said, Solana, I added a little bit yesterday. Monty's H bar, I added a little bit yesterday as well. And, you just got to be patient with some of those alts. But I do believe that they will undoubtedly outperform Bitcoin at the peak end of a market cycle. And it's just mathematically feasible because they don't have high enough market caps. They're going to increase more on a log-based percentage. So,
Absolutely. Well said. And, a week ago today, we had Mike the investor on, and he, I think, made a great point. Retail, we're talking about retail facing assets like with these altcoins, and retail traders don't necessarily look at the fundamentals. I think the first thing retail traders look at is how much money can this asset potentially make me? And when you look at some of these altcoins, the beta is a lot higher, and they recognize that, and they're willing to take that risk, especially when you see the move that Bitcoin has made kind of preceding a lot of those altcoin moves. So I completely agree with you, CJ. I think that, those moves happen quick. They tend to be at the tail end of that run. But, I too added to my SOL position yesterday. I think that's looking strong, and HBAR, but I'll be looking to continue to add to some alts in the coming weeks here as we continue to climb to new all-time highs in Bitcoin. On that note, any doges of the day that you have for us today, or anything you'd like to go into before we hit our doges of the day?
Yeah, I'm thinking. There's a lot of good ones.
I can see that. I can see the tickers bouncing around in that head of yours. What are you thinking here today, CJ? If you'd like, I could start off. I have one.
Yeah, I would prefer that.
Okay,
I would like to just take a look at a couple more.
Go ahead, take some time. Pressure's on you now, though. We're expecting a particularly good one. Okay, so I saw some people in chat talking about this one here, and I'm very glad they were because I very much like what I'm seeing. Chris got just ripped to the upper 42s. Yes, I like what I'm seeing here, and let me just quickly explain why. So, DOT fundamentally, obviously, I've talked a lot about DOT. CJ has as well. Published a very good trade insight, just a few weeks ago back here. I'm still riding that trade insight actually, and I'm very encouraged by what we're seeing here today. This level right here at about $43 is a highly critical level for DOT. It was a critical level back in May, and it was a critical level just a few days ago as we really shot up on this strong candle and hit some resistance as people took profit around this critical level. But as you can see today, we are starting to build back up towards that level. What also encouraged me is the sort of volume profile we saw as this consolidation was occurring here. I was worried that an immense amount of profit taking would perhaps drive us back down this week. But as you can see, the volume has been declining. There's been a very small amount of profit taking that's been occurring at this level. It's mostly just been traders holding their position. Now, as we're rallying back up to these critical levels, you can kind of see a sort of pennant formation forming here. And I think that it bodes well for a move to the previous all-time high of about that $50 range here for DOT. So I very much like what I'm seeing here with DOT. And this is another one, it's sort of that it qualifies as a blue chip altcoin, one of the larger cap altcoins. And I expect it to be one of the first to receive that sort of rotation of capital that CJ and I are talking about pretty much every day here. I think that, now that we have ETH ripping to 4K, that capital is going to start to rotate downstream into assets like DOT, like Solana, like HBAR. So I'm very encouraged by what I'm seeing here today. And, quite frankly, I am going to increase my position if we get a close above this critical level at about 43.3. Candle body close above this level tonight at 7 p.m. Central. And I will be looking to increase my position as we approach previous all-time highs. So that's my Doge of the day today. Hope that gave you enough time to look over some tickers, CJ.
Yeah, certainly. And you can't, the 12% interest with DOT on Voyager through staking is just, it's too good to pass up, in my opinion, especially with solid fundamentals in a project like Polkadot. Also, I do want to make a point about DOT because this is one of my larger holdings, and I do really like the technical formation that DOT's been in, kind of this accumulation cylinder, very similar to the Livermore speculative chart where, if we break out of this and get to something like a 0.8, we could be hitting the 100, 150, potentially even $200 price levels end of cycle by DOT, early in the spring. That is yet to happen, but you can see that the momentum certainly is building, and it's one that I really like. Also got some nice Fibonacci support here that the trend has been able to hold at 40, which I think is very promising and also adds merit to your Doge of the Day selection. The one that I want to pick is Atom because we actually have broken out of a critical level. I do like Atom. I think it is one of the layer one protocols that will perform well, somewhat along the lines of Solana, AVAX, Luna. A lot of those layer one, HBAR is another one, I should say. A lot of those layer one utility blockchains that are geared towards high throughput in transactions. So I think Atom or Cosmos is very interestingly positioned. You have the cup and handle pattern. You have a above average surge in volume, which is breaking above the downward sloping trend line of that hammer or of that cup and handle pattern. So, that is one that's I would just watch for breakout levels. But overall, with a lot of the popular alts that I've mentioned, I think they're about to start trending. If not, consolidate and then begin to trend. It just kind of depends on when we start to see Bitcoin dominance turnover and when we start to see a large rotation to the altcoin market.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll be monitoring Bitcoin dominance closely, that Bitcoin ETH pair as well, all worth taking a look at. And, we'll be doing that in the crypto room as always. And, if you'd like to hang out with CJ and I in the crypto room, you can try it for just $7 for your first week at marketrebellion.com/try crypto. Like I said, it's a global community of traders from all around the world. We have a pro charting service like you just saw from some of those charts. We have an extensive education curriculum, sentiment data, and a whole lot more. So definitely head over there and check that out. Also, like I said at the beginning of today's show, today at 3 p.m. Central Time, we'll be doing a open webinar to anyone that you think could benefit from attending this crypto webinar. Feel free to send them that link. We'd love to have them. We'll be showcasing some of the features of the room, talking about our Q4 outlook, and also talking about some special webinars that we have coming up here in the next month and a half or so. So lots of exciting stuff in the works. Very exciting day today. And yeah, I cannot wait to get back to the room, do a little trading with the rest of you guys. It's going to be a very exciting day. And if you're looking for a place to trade, as always, we recommend head over to investvoyager.com where you can trade 60 plus assets. Like CJ said, that 12% on DOT, very hard to pass up. You're not going to find rates like that anywhere else. You can also get 10% on USDC, a stable coin, just for holding it with Voyager. So head over there and check them out. And if you do, use code Rebel25 when you sign up for $25 free in crypto. But thank you guys so much for watching. Exciting day, like I keep saying. Any parting words for our audience today, CJ?
Yeah, I just see that some members. I just want to answer one last question regarding kind of downside risk potential. Seeing that there's a call of tops in the diamonds and the Qs, and potentially how that would affect crypto. One, that's not our view in terms of equities and globally how they would perform. And number two, even if we were to see a short-term interim top, I think that the supply and demand dynamics and the supply shock within Bitcoin as well as ETH is very powerful. And I think that what we need to pay attention to and recognize is the past couple weeks when the S&P really came off the top and corrected hard. Nevertheless, Bitcoin actually rallied and was inversely correlated to that asset class. So I think that that really speaks to the strength and the merit behind the supply shock and that driving force of scarcity forcing Bitcoin's price up. So I think Bitcoin's in a really resilient state, regardless of kind of what we see. Unless we see an overall like liquidity crisis like COVID, I don't think we're in any systemic risk like that. Just wanted to be clear on that one. But thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day in the world wherever you are. Monty and I are out of here.